What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another League of Legends video, guys. Alright, today we're heading back into our boy Necrit's channel. We are going to freaking check out the League of Legends explained. He's just explaining how League of Legends has been around, like about Runeterra, all the different champions, how, like, why everything has been going on, like the wall runes and all that. That's basically what is going to be explained in this channel, in this video. So we're just gonna react to that, guys. We're just gonna see where everything started, basically where everything started. That is what we're gonna see today. So I just hope everybody's feeling good. I just hope everybody's just wonderful, man. Are you good? I hope you're good. You better be fucking good, because I'm gonna come and give you some fucking food in your face. So yeah, get over it. Like, come on, guys, come and watch this video with me, man. Just come on through. So let's hop into the video, man. Let's do this. Hi, once again, shout out to my boy in Necrit. Yo, he be making some really good fucking content. Story is the story of a League of Legends explained. So that's the name of the video. So we're just gonna check this video out, see where everything started. Let's hop in. Ooh, it's my boy Jin. Necrit. My boy has this one. Bard! The boy Bard.
Is the lore of League of Legends good? To which I say that we have a lore channel with over 500 videos now.
Absolutely fucking good.
I didn't like the story. And I want to read the story, but I don't know where to start. And that is a very hard question to answer.
That's
because
true.
Quite frankly, you can start anywhere you want.
Exactly.
All of Riot's stories are written in a way where no matter what story you read, all of the information you need to understand it is somehow put in there. For example, if you are interested in Ionia, you can read about any champion in any order you want. But some characters talk about certain events more than others. Some champions like Riven or Master Yi explain the Noxian chemical warfare, but they still at least mention the main battle at the Placidium. Other champions like Irelia or Karma explain the main battle at the Placidium, but they only hint at the chemical warfare.
Okay.
So basically, all the stories contain all the information you need, so you are never left confused. But I understand that simply telling you that you can read whatever you want is not a good answer.
Yeah, that would be real
After all,
confusing as well.
League of Legends does have its main story. Despite there being more than 145 champions, all with their own unique stories, there is an overarching plotline that serves as the real story above all the others. And today, we will talk about exactly that.
Come on.
It wasn't an easy task, but I managed to put together the complete story of the main events that affected the universe of League of Legends.
Okay.
The way I did it was simple. I read a lot. All the information you're about to hear can be found in various stories and champion bios. But just like you have item descriptions or journal logs in other games, League is also hiding tiny pieces of information in places
Guys,
you
my
can
baby
get a lot of
fucking
new
girl, yo.
information by cross-referencing different champion stories. The way it works is that you usually have two champions from the other side of the world pointing at different mysteries.
As Nocturne,
but when
right?
you realize
Yeah.
that they are actually pointing at the
I am
same
the
thing,
shadow.
you discover something massive. So with all of that said, keep in mind that the story of Runeterra can still get expanded upon.
Wow.
So in the future, some of the things we mention here may be already explained and things might be slightly different. In fact, I would say that about 15% of this video is sourced from those tiny pieces of information. However, what I'm about to show you right now is still the closest thing we can get to covering the entire storyline of League of Legends. But enough about unnecessary explanations. Finally, without further ado, let's get into the main storyline of League of Legends.
What I want to say is that how can a game with no story mode have such a fucking fantastic story? This is just fucking wild, yo.
Let's start at the very, very beginning. In the ages before time was even a concept, there was nothing. Or at least that's what the things inside the nothing thought.
Brilliant. So
Since the beginning of time, there were always the Watchers. They are these nightmarish shapeless creatures that drifted in the absolute darkness of the universe.
I can't see
The
any
thing
shit.
is that the universe was so dark and empty, the Watchers themselves didn't even know they existed. There was nothing to see and nothing to feel.
What?
There was nothing to show them that they actually lived.
Oh, because
but that all changed
they're not
when
seeing
a tiny
anything.
spark of light appeared in the empty cosmos. Suddenly, the Watchers realized they could see. Not only that, they realized that they are conscious beings with senses. Just like that, the spark of light woke up the Watchers from their eternal sleep.
What was it?
Naturally, the Watchers were quite annoyed at the tiny spark. Up until now, everything was peaceful and quiet. But this spark was blinding them, and it was ruining their slumber. When they drifted closer to inspect the light, the Watchers found out that the tiny spark was in fact a window into reality. Inside the reality, dragons of twilight, cosmic beings, and even death itself came to be, and they roamed around the empty space. Some, like Aurelian souls, spread light around. They left little pieces of themselves behind, which created stars. And with a little help from cosmic dust, planets formed around these stars. The absolute majority of these newborn worlds were empty, but sometimes there was life. The one planet that we know about is Runeterra. Now, Runeterra wasn't shaped by accident. The Celestials created this world with the use of world runes, hence the name Runeterra. But while that was happening, the Watchers observed it all from afar. It didn't take long before the celestial beings became aware of them. They knew that something was overlooking their realm, and they knew it was more powerful than anything in their reality. Now, don't take this information for granted. Technically, it should be considered a theory, but it is believed that the Celestials created Runeterra to host an army of powerful beings that would defend reality against the Watchers. This was never directly confirmed, but as
so the Celestials, like Bard and Soraka, they knew that the Watchers existed without them knowing that.
You'll see from the rest of the story, that is highly likely what happened here. Anyway, the planet was created and the Celestials were paying close attention to its development. This is likely the time when Ornn, Anivia, Volibear, and the Seal Sister appeared on Runeterra. It is theorized that the Celestials put them there to terraform the planet. The only thing that we get confirmed is that according to his legend, Ornn did actually shape the mountains of Freljord. However, after a mysterious disaster, the world runes that created this world were lost and scattered across the same planet. This is likely the reason why Runeterra is a magical world full of spirits.
And demons.
It is likely because the world runes slowly radiated magic into the surrounding lands. Millennia passed and life started blooming on Runeterra. First, it was Yordles, Animals, and the Vastaya Shirei who started appearing on the ocean floor, but humans later joined them when they started covering the surface. This was very important to the Celestials. As mortals began emerging, the Celestials started fiddling with their lives. In fact, according to the Celestials, they had some kind of grand design for the mortals. The story specifically avoids telling us what the design was,
giving them
but
powers.
We know that living beings had a purpose. The evolution of life wasn't an accident. To strengthen the relationship between the Celestials and the mortals of Runeterra, the Celestials did two things. First, they created star constellations. These were images that served as messages to guide mortals to their intended purpose. It was an easy way to communicate with them. And second, the Celestials created Mount Targon. An interesting fact is that the mountain was literally ripped from the ground. It is as if someone pinched the earth and pulled it up. That's why it is much steeper than any other mountain. Also, you may notice that a lot of the mountain surface is covered in ice. Partially, it is because it is really cold up there. But it's also because as the mountain was being pulled up, it was also dragging lakes and rivers with it. So a lot of the ice is vertically frozen lakes stuck to the mountain. In the end, Mount Targon was a pretty successful invention. It served as a beacon of godly light and magic that attracted beings from all over the world. The more advanced mortals even formed their own civilization around its feet, which gave them a deeper connection with the celestial realm. And after some time, few of the most trusted individuals were elevated by the Celestials, specifically by the Celestial aspects, creating the very first ascended beings.
Yeah, that's the ascended.
The Celestials weren't the only ones who were strengthening their control over the life on Runeterra. The Watchers were doing the same. They were carefully poking holes into reality, gathering any information about what the reality is, and more specifically, how can they get rid of it. The Celestials noticed these holes in realities that we know as void drifts, and they quickly
so it's them making the fucking void.
Now it was about this time when Aurelian Sol flew by and he noticed how much the life on Runeterra bloomed. And when he got closer, he noticed that all the tiny mortals looked up at him, and they worshipped him. Now this Aurelian didn't mind at all, and he often came back to visit Runeterra between his journeys into the dark. At one point, the mortal community up on the mountain, who were now known as the Targonians, offered Aurelian Sol a crown. Aurelian of course appreciated the gesture of gratitude, and he happily put it on. But as he did that, he willingly chained himself to the planet, because the crown bound Aurelian to the will of the ascended Targonians. Aurelian Sol was now enslaved. We don't really know if it was just the Targonians who did this on their own.
But how can you do that to a celestial being? That's my question.
Or if it was a plan of the celestial beings to enslave Aurelian's
Oh, okay.
Either way, the reason why Aurelian's soul was enslaved was because he was powerful enough to seal the Void Rift.
Whoa,
He was
so
an
my
effective
boy.
weapon against the Grand
So
Enemy.
basically
Aurelian
that's
had
why.
a massive ego and he couldn't care less about the lives of mortals. So that's why he had to be forced to properly help the reality. At this point, the Watchers were at their limits. They wanted to learn more about Runeterra, but they were massive, and the rifts were tiny. The Watchers simply couldn't fit through. But it didn't take them too long to figure out that all they needed to do was to reach a mortal being and control it. If they corrupted something and sent it out, they could use it as a spy. So the way the Watchers gathered more information more effectively was by sending out horribly morphed beings to devour other beings and gather their information. The reason why information is so important to the Watchers is because they could easily use it as a weapon against Runeterra. The more they learn about how living beings are constructed and what living beings are the strongest, the more powerful voidborn creatures they can create and release through the rifts. But the Watchers realize that deconstructing and recreating beings is not the only way to win this war. Up in Freljord, they were playing a different game. They managed to slowly corrupt the mind of an individual that almost doomed the entire planet.
Lysandra.
Of course, we're talking about Lysandra.
Yes.
Lysandra was one of the 3 sisters that ruled Freljord, the second most powerful region at that time, right after Targon. The 3 sisters were Lysandra, Sorilda, and Avarosa. And all of them were drawn to celestial magic. Sorilda wanted to command the celestial heavens, but for her arrogance, she lost her voice to the first twilight. Avarosa witnessed the twisting dark overlooking the world, and she was deafened by its complete emptiness.
So
and
voice,
Lysandra
hearing, and
the
eyes.
magic of Runeterra, and as her punishment, she was blinded by Volibear.
Voice,
Together,
hearing, and
one
eyes.
blind, one deaf, and one mute, the 3 sisters ruled Freljord. Since she was blind, Lysandra had to rely on her hearing and delving into dreams. This meant that over time her hearing was so good she could hear what others could not. Voices that echoed through the fabric of reality.
Wow.
Unfortunately, what she didn't know is that it was the Watchers who slowly corrupted her. Years passed and Lysandra now fully trusted the Watchers. But she didn't dare tell her sisters about them. In secret, Lysandra even struck a deal with the Watchers. The Watchers would give her people near immortality. This power of immortality is what created the Iceborn, who are basically Freljordians touched by the power of the Void. And in return, all the Watchers wanted was a safe place to rest when they visit their world. To Lysandra, this was an offering she couldn't decline. So she accepted the terms on her sister's behalf. More years later, when the Freljord was ready for the Watchers, without a warning, they started emerging from the Abyss, revealing Lysandra's hidden allegiance.
The Hollow Abyss, right?
Unfortunately, their horrible twisted forms were not what Lysandra expected, and she realized the grave mistake she had made. She invited the end itself to their world. At this point, Lysandra had 2 options. Let the world be consumed, or sacrifice everything she had ever had. And so, using her Iceborn powers, Lysandra managed to freeze everything and everyone who was present, killing Sorilda and Avarosa in the process. This is how a couple of Watchers got frozen.
So these are fuck. Cause in the movie, in the fucking video with Rise, you saw Rise was standing above, and they were trying to fucking control him. They were like putting the shit, and he actually fought back. So it's what the
frozen
fuck?
In the Howling Abyss, while the rest escaped. After this defeat, the Watchers retreated, but not without new information. Many decades later, on the other side of the world, the war against the Void took another turn. Even though Targon had Aurelian's soul under their control, and they dealt with all the easily accessible rifts, sometimes they had to deal with smaller tears in reality that couldn't be accessed by a massive celestial dragon. That's why the Celestials had to nudge mortals to start a new empire. This time, more to the east. Under the guidance of the Celestials, the new Shuriman Empire began constructing a massive disc in Nerimazeth. Using this disc, they attempted to channel celestial powers into their chosen soldiers. But the experiment failed and the disc was destroyed. Later, they made another attempt at this more to the east. This time they constructed a much bigger sun disc that would create super soldiers capable of fighting back the Void. These soldiers would get many different names. God Warriors, Golden Warriors, Sunborn, but we know them as Shuriman Ascended. Here we need to mention 3 very important individuals that play a big role in this war. Azir became the greatest leader of the Empire and the Grand Leader of the Ascended.
So he was the first
loved
Ascended.
By pretty much everyone, but keep in mind that he was still a human. He became Ascended much later. Nasus became the wisest of the Ascended. His knowledge of war tactics would become irreplaceable. And the third important character is Setaka. She became the war
Sedaka.
commander of the Ascended host, and she was the deadliest of all the Ascended. As the Empire was growing and the number of their god warriors was expanding, other nations became suppressed, and some even feared the unstoppable army of Shurima. One such nation was the Kingdom of Icathia. Their leader, the infamous Mage King, had enough of cowering before their might, so he went to war against Azir. Now the Mage King knew his small kingdom of mages would not stand a chance against the Ascended, so he called upon a power greater than...
What I don't understand is that, like, countries, they're fighting against each other when the major problem is actually the void, and they're fighting against each other for what? Power? The void is the problem. They're not...
than what the Sandis could offer. He called upon the void. During the battle for Icathia,
Fucking
a
hell,
massive
yo.
void rift consumed the kingdom, and after hundreds of years of
so this is how
observing, the
Icathia...
Watchers had another...
So this is how Icathia was just fucking twisted with the whole this. Oh, fuck people and their fucking conquest for fucking their power.
chance to silence all reality. Using their previously gathered knowledge, the Watchers corrupted everything they touched, and they created new voidborn abomination the world had never seen.
Look at how this
This
shit
was a
looks,
war
yo.
on a scale nobody expected.
Fuck.
But after many sacrifices, including Setaka, who died while being torn apart by these abominations, the Ascended won, but at a great cost. Not only was
That's
the race of
Aatrox,
Icathia
right?
so big that
So that's when Aatrox and the other Ascended got tainted. What the fuck was the blade name? Rast and Aatrox.
even today it is still not fully sealed. But most of those who survived were permanently marked by the void. Before this battle, the Watchers have never even seen a god warrior before, so they weren't able to fully corrupt anyone. But their mark was enough to leave a tiny whispering voice in everyone's mind. Thankfully, even though their war commander Setaka was dead, Azir and Nasus remained untouched by the void, and they kept all the void-touched warriors under control.
True.
Of course, it didn't stay that way forever. Zerath, Azir's slave, who was also his best friend and a guide, saw him as a naive emperor. Everyone saw Azir as a kind-hearted leader, but there were still countless slaves dying under his rule. Now, secretly, Azir was planning to free all the slaves on the day of his ascension. It was meant to be a big surprise to everyone, including Zerath. But when the day arrived, Zerath became jealous of the power Azir would get. So Zerath pushed Azir from the ascension sunlight, and he drained all the power of the Sun Disk himself.
So this fucking guy, my boy was just... holy shit. So fucking Azir was planning to just release everyone when he got ascended. And this piece of fucking shit...
This led to Azir's death and the destruction of the capital city. But what's worse, it also left all the void-touched Ascended without a leader to keep them under control.
Under fucking
the only
control.
one who could do something about this was Nasus. He was wise, but more importantly, he was not touched by the void. However, keeping so many corrupted Ascended in line was an impossible task even for him. And eventually it was so dangerous, Nasus had to go into hiding. This meant that the Ascended warriors, now without a leader or purpose, and with tingling void whispers in their minds, went absolutely insane.
Crazy.
Instead of being seen as godly beings, the Ascended slowly turned into brutal warlords. They fought each other, sometimes to gain more power, sometimes to settle their differences. Eventually, they figured out how to control the whispers in their mind, and they created a brand new kind of magic. Blood magic, which they used to reshape and improve their bodies.
That's fucking
Soon, the
Aatrox,
Ascended
yo.
warriors were known as the Darkin.
Darkin,
and this
yo.
era would become known as the Great Darkin War. During these times, the entire world was in conflict, as the Darkin conquered as much land for themselves as they could. While all of this was happening, the Celestials watched it all. Their warriors who were supposed to fight back the void were
But
now
they're fighting each other.
and they were more dangerous to the mortals than the Watchers themselves. So the Celestials had to remove them. The simplest way to do so was to send the aspect of Twilight to Shurima.
But-
there she would teach mortals.
But... what the hell? They're saying... it's Zoe. Zoe is the one who actually trapped the fucking Darkins into weapons. But they said it's the one... Didn't they say that it was the one before her?
How to seal the Darkin inside their weapons. It took a couple of years, but in the end, the surviving Shurimans together with the Targonian aspect sealed all the remaining Darkin. And finally, the world saw peace again. For a while anyway. If we look back at what just happened, this entire Shuriman experiment was a massive loss for the Celestials. They wanted to have an army to fight the Void, but instead they ended up with the biggest Void Rift they have ever seen. So the Celestials needed an entirely new plan. But before they could figure something out, mortals took their fate into their own hands, possibly in the worst way imaginable. You see, now that the Darkin were gone and the world was left in utter ruins, even the simplest man could become a king by simply scavenging whatever he could.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what came next.
Noxus.
The Age of Men. The first to step up was Mordekaiser. He was a brutal warlord king who easily swept across
What
Valorant
a
and
guy!
conquered
Yo,
the entire
Mordekaiser is a
continent.
fucking
Only when the
menace!
rest of the world united against him was his dark reign ended. Fast forward a couple of years and the world was simply at war again. But this war was unlike any other. Remember when the Celestials lost the world runes at the beginning of the story?
Yes.
Well, mortals began uncovering them. Random mages around the world held
Brand.
stones with the power to create worlds. It was pretty much the equivalent to holding a nuke. This sounds scary, but everything was fine as long as people were just threatening to fire the nukes. But once the first nuke was fired, the second followed, then the third, and the fourth. While the Celestials were trying to come up with a new plan, mortals literally set the world on fire.
On fire,
This conflict
this motherfucker. So, we are the creators of our own demise.
became known as the Rune Wars.
Rune Wars.
Sometimes Celestials managed to calm down some of the conflicts. Usually this was done with the help of the Targonian aspects. Or with the help of Bard.
Bard
is a Celestial who specifically comes down on Runeterra to take powerful magical items away from mortals. Just so they wouldn't use them
Yeah,
in another war. The last time
that
we
video.
saw Bard was during the battle for Bard Mountain, in Ionia, where he took away this magical item.
Yes.
Later Celestials even tried to create more constellations to show people more messages. But at this point, mortal minds were too primitive,
What
and they
the-
usually thought it was signs of doom. But sometimes, even mortals helped.
The Blessed Isles. This is the Blessed Isles, and this is what turned into the fucking Shadow Isle.
On the Blessed Isles, there was a cult of mages dedicated to collecting the world runes.
Nice.
They did it to hide them away from other mortals.
Come on, my
But
boy,
even
right?
that didn't help. In the end, during this era, the most powerful nations were wiped out. In the east, only Noxus remained, after they wiped out their neighbors. Yes, this circle you see here is actually a crater. There was supposed to be another nation here.
What
And
the
in the west, Demacia was built as a purely anti-magic nation. We know that there are a couple of nations between them. For example, the Arbormar Kingdom. But we don't know much else. This is where the modern lore of League of Legends begins. So if we have a look at the world right now, the Watchers are constantly looking for a way to invade Runeterra because they are annoyed by its existence. The north is hiding a massive void rift frozen beneath the Holding Abyss. The south has a massive void rift still open there, not big enough to fit a Watcher through, but big enough to spawn a void army. The western and eastern Valorant is at war, the entire Shuriman continent is mostly in ruins, and the Blessed Isles blew up. Only Ionia is somewhat decently holding it together, but Noxus had to screw them up too. Remember when I mentioned that the Celestials had mortals as a part of a bigger design? Again, the Celestials likely created mortal beings to use them all as soldiers in this galactic war. Well, whatever purpose mortals were supposed to have,
Got
it
fucking
is far beyond the
Raskin
Celestial
and
control now.
Virus.
So now, you may be wondering, what happens next? Well, the main story can go a number of ways. We can learn more about the world runes through the vault in Demacia. Or maybe the Watchers will try to get through the rift in the north. Or the Darkin will try to make a comeback and the Celestials will have to deal with them again.
What the
Riot
fuck,
created
yo?
a playground where they can do a lot of different things.
Yes.
Remember, it really doesn't matter where you begin to read. Every champion and every story makes sense on its own, so you can't get lost. If you ask me, start with the stories found on Silas's page. He's a great champion for entering the new lore. He
Okay.
will get you right into the newest conflict. And right after that, maybe have a look at Udyr. I think he will surprise you. But no matter what you decide to do, just have fun and go for whatever you are interested in.
Come on, yo,
The days
this
of
whole
bad lore
shit.
are gone. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Wonderful, yo. Yo, this guy definitely be making some top-notch fucking shit. So this shit already being explained just like friggin' this, yo. So basically the Watchers are not from like the realm of the fucking living. Well, living like reality, realm of reality. They're not from the realm of reality. So basically that fucking light that they saw was actually the Celestials creating Runeterra. So that when they saw that light, was like, what the fuck is that? We were sleeping. So them people basically didn't know. The Watchers didn't really know that they were alive. They were just there existing. And then they saw the fucking light and they was like, what the? Yo, this whole shit is just fucked, yo. we as humans are the creators of our own demise. The Celestial basically, they like the fucking development of friggin' Runeterra, so they just basically wanted mortals to, you know, become strong, you know, because they was trying to get rid of the Watchers, like to fight, not really get rid of them, but fight them also that they wouldn't take over Runeterra. But I mean, if the Celestials are strong enough to like get rid of the Watchers, why didn't they just do it? I don't know. Probably giving like mortals and humans a chance of like showing that they're worthy enough to like destroy them themselves. But yeah, this was a good fucking story. Wow! Oh my goodness, yo! I gotta start doing some reading. Silas is like for like new lore. What reading Silas is for, like new lore and like the old lore. I'll check up on every single thing, because he actually said no matter where you start reading, you're not gonna get confused. So that's the whole point of this, like League of Legends, you know, being able to read anything from anywhere and not be confused. That is extremely freaking hard. But yeah, I enjoyed this video very, very, very much. Thank you very much. What is his name? Graph D. You come on, man, you fucking did this one. Thank you for suggesting this video, man. Thank you very much. So this will be the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed like how I enjoyed it. It's an absolute pleasure having everyone here who's here watching these videos with me, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate every single thing that you guys do. Until the next video, I will be hopping back into the quotes, the voice lines, and the interactions. Yes, I'll be uploading more videos of that. But I was just checking with Necrit. Necrit is a really cool fucking guy, man. So until the next video, guys, just peace out and have a nice day.